So let me tell you something mad that happened last week. I was having coffee with my bestie, and she literally could not stop checking her phone every 2 seconds. Like, proper obsessed with this guy she'd only met twice. And I'm sitting there thinking, how did he do that? How did he make this totally independent, successful girl turn into someone who's literally counting the minutes between his texts? And that's when it hit me. There's actual psychology behind this, like proper science stuff that explains why we sometimes get completely obsessed with someone while other people just fade into the background. For those who are new here, hi, I'm Sophia, and my channel is all about decoding dating and relationships, but not the boring, typical advice you get from your Aunt Karen. We're talking real, science-backed strategies that actually work. Today, we're diving into something juicy, the 5 psychological triggers that make any woman obsessed with you. And trust me, once you understand these, dating becomes like a whole different game. But before we jump in, let's talk about how our brains actually work when it comes to attraction. You know how you get this little rush every time you get a notification? That's your brain releasing dopamine, basically your body's feel-good chemical. And here's the crazy part. Our brains release more dopamine when the reward is unexpected. Think about it. When's the last time you got super excited about someone who was totally predictable? Never, right? It's always the person who keeps you guessing that gets you hooked. It's exactly like social media. Why do we keep scrolling? Because we never know what we're going to find next. Our brains are literally wired to crave this uncertainty. And dating? It works exactly the same way. Science shows that when we're uncertain about someone's feelings, our brains actually work overtime trying to figure them out. That's why that guy who's a bit mysterious is usually way more interesting than the one who's totally obvious about liking you. Here's what's wild. Studies have shown that when we're in this state of uncertainty, our brains actually release 400% more dopamine than when we know exactly what's coming. Mad, right? And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to use this psychology to create that irresistible pull. We're talking about 5 specific triggers that tap directly into these brain chemicals. We've got the contrast effect, emotional investment, the value loop, the curiosity gap, and my personal favorite, future projection. Each one of these triggers works with your brain's natural chemistry to create that obsession-level attraction. Want to know the best part? Once you understand these triggers, you can't unsee them. You'll start noticing them everywhere, in movies, in relationships, even in how brands get us hooked on their products. Let's talk about trigger number 1, the contrast effect. And trust me, this one is literally mind-blowing. You know how your morning coffee tastes so much better after a terrible night's sleep? That's the contrast effect in action, and it works exactly the same way in attraction. Here's the tea. When you're always nice, always available, always predictable, you become like wallpaper. Sorry, but it's true. But when you mix hot and cold behaviors, that's when you become absolutely unforgettable. Let me give you a real example. Last summer, my friend Alex was dating this guy who absolutely mastered this. One day he'd be super present, having deep conversations until 3 a.m., making her feel like the only girl in the world. Then the next day, just casual, light responses, not ignoring her. That's toxic and we don't do that, but just different energy. It drove her absolutely mad. But here's the thing, she couldn't stop thinking about him. When he was all in, those moments felt so much more special because of the contrast. The key is pattern interruption. If you're always doing the same thing, being the same way, the brain gets bored. But when you switch things up, that's when the magic happens. One day you're sharing deep secrets, the next you're just sending memes. One moment you're planning future dates, the next you're just casually checking in. And now let's talk about trigger number 2, emotional investment. This is where things get properly interesting. Think about it like this. The more time and emotion someone invests in something, the more valuable it becomes to them. It's why we love that IKEA furniture we built ourselves more than the fancy pre-built stuff. I remember when this guy I was seeing took me urban exploring for our 3rd date. We had to climb through this abandoned building, and it was properly scary but so exciting. We were both a bit nervous, both trying to act brave, both experiencing this crazy adrenaline rush together. That shared experience, it created more emotional investment than like 10 regular dinner dates would have, because we went through something together, something that made us feel things. Here's how you create this investment. Start small, then gradually escalate. Maybe first it's sharing a silly secret, then a bigger one. Maybe it's a quick coffee date that turns into a spontaneous adventure. Each time you're building on what came before. And here's the clever bit. When someone invests emotions, time, or effort into something or someone, they'll automatically value it more. It's called the IKEA effect in psychology, but I call it the "why am I so obsessed with this person" effect. Like, think about your favorite person on social media. Why do you keep coming back to their content? Because you've invested time in following their story. You know their background, their inside jokes, their journey. That's emotional investment at work. The same principle applies in dating. The more someone invests in getting to know you, in creating memories with you, in sharing experiences with you, the more valuable you become in their mind. But remember loves. This isn't about manipulation. It's about creating genuine connections and experiences that naturally make people want to invest more in getting to know you. Want to know about the next trigger? Because this one's properly juicy. Let's talk about trigger number 3, the value loop. This is literally the psychology behind why some people become so addictive to talk to, while others, well, just don't. Think about your favorite Netflix series. You know how they end each episode right at the most exciting part? That's not an accident. It's a value loop, and it works exactly the same way in attraction. Here's how it works. You give attention and validation, but not in a predictable way. It's like, imagine you're texting someone, having this amazing conversation, really vibing, and then you get busy with something else. Not ignoring them, but just naturally creating this little gap. Like this guy I dated last summer, he was literally a master at this. He'd be super engaged, asking these deep questions, making me feel like the most interesting person ever. Then he'd casually mention he had plans with friends and disappear for a few hours. The way my brain would not stop thinking about him? Embarrassing. But that's exactly how the value loop works. When someone gives you amazing attention and then naturally pulls back, your brain goes crazy trying to get that good feeling back. And this leads perfectly into trigger number 4, the curiosity gap. This is where things get proper interesting. You know that feeling when someone starts telling you a story, but doesn't finish it? Your brain literally can't think about anything else until you know the ending. That's the curiosity gap in action. Here's how to use it. Instead of telling someone everything about yourself straight away, you drop little hints. Maybe you mention this crazy thing that happened in Paris, but don't tell the full story yet. Or you have this interesting hobby, but you only share bits and pieces. Like, instead of saying, "I'm a photographer," you might say, "I do this thing on weekends that lets me see the city in a totally different way." Boom, curiosity gap created. Their brain is now dying to know more. The key is to always keep a few loops open. Share something interesting, but leave out key details. Start a story, but save the best part for later. Have plans that sound intriguing, but don't explain everything. But here's the important bit. You're not just being mysterious for the sake of it. You're creating these little information gaps that make people want to know more about you naturally. The trick is to always give enough information to be interesting, but hold back just enough to keep them curious. It's like having multiple Netflix cliffhangers running at the same time. Trigger number 5 is literally my favorite, future projection. This is proper psychology magic, and once you understand it, you'll see why it's so powerful. Here's the thing. When someone starts imagining a future with you, even tiny moments, their brain actually starts creating emotional attachments to those imagined scenarios. Mad, right? The trick is to casually drop these little future scenarios into conversation. Like, if they mention loving Italian food, you might say, "Oh, there's this hidden gem in the city. You'd absolutely love their truffle pasta. We should check it out sometime." See what happened there? Their brain automatically started imagining that future scene. I had this friend who was literally a master at this. When a guy mentioned he loved skiing, she'd say something like, "You'd be perfect for my annual winter trip to the Alps." Not making concrete plans, just creating these little future movies in his head. The key is to make it natural and low pressure. You're not planning a wedding. You're just planting little seeds of possibility. But listen, here's the thing. This isn't about playing games or manipulating anyone. It's about understanding psychology so you can create genuine connections in a more interesting way. Use these triggers to enhance real connections, not fake ones. If you found this helpful, smash that like button and hit subscribe. And drop a comment below telling me which trigger you're going to try first. And if you want more dating psychology tips, check out my Instagram where I share daily relationship advice.